one of our strategies, because we wanted to learn about equity of our students' experiences in high impact practice, was to conduct focus groups with students of color. We did, I think, 5 or 6 of those groups, and we had some money from another source to pay people to facilitate those groups, which made it easier to get things moving. We asked students about their experience prior, so how did they learn about it, we didn't phrase it quite this way, but how do students know whether an experience is for them or not for them on campus? And we also then asked them about their experience in their high impact practices, and we also tried to get them to process what happened to them after they were done. Students really appreciate the immersion trips that are targeted at helping them to understand their culture. So I would need to dig a little bit deeper, but I think part of that is that they enjoyed that the group is majority students of color. And they enjoy that. For example, the Hmong immersion experiences might go to places around the world and around the country where there are other large Hmong populations in addition to Eau Claire. And I think that is something really of interest to those students. And African American students appreciated the civil rights pilgrimage, which was focused on the experience of some of their families, not specifically, but in general. So we learned that I think would be a useful way to build equity and participation. We also learned that students feel real economic challenges about how they're going to study abroad or how they're going to participate in a research project that requires them to be on campus over the summer. So we're finding, I think, some of the barriers that are there. I think that at UW-Eau Claire we have had a guidepost goal for several years that 100% of our students are going to have 2 high impact practices before they graduate, which is a wonderful goal because it focuses attention on participation. But it's a very quantitatively driven goal. So I think that we're still going to need to work on using the data we've gathered or will gather about outcomes and the data on the qualitative student experience to broaden that conversation, right? So it's not just that students have 2 high impact practices, it's that students can demonstrate what's happened because of those high impact practices. And really moving into the future, what I really would like to do is an effective alumni survey that gets them to talk about what happened because of the high impact practices, right? Because we were unique. We were early on the high impact practice, kind of guarantee. I would have some advice for departments that want to expand into more qualitative data collection. One of those pieces of advice, and this came from our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, is to work to recruit staff members of color to work with students of color in those focus groups. She shared with us, the research about how that impacts students' willingness to participate. The other thing we were able to do is pay our students to participate. And I think that's really important, particularly if you're looking at equity questions and talking to students of color, because at least on our campus where that population is small, those students are asked to answer questions about equity all the time. And so being able to compensate them for participation, I think, is an equitable thing to do. The biggest challenge for us was recruiting students to participate. And some of that has to do with trying to start that recruitment process too late in the semester. Some of that has to do with, building a better student understanding of what we were looking for. So the recruitment was a little bit of a challenge, but I'd say that it's well worth the effort to put that together.